I've paid thousands of dollars in courses to learn what you're basically teaching on your podcast for free. What you're putting out there is so valuable. So, I just really want to acknowledge you, and I definitely send everyone to your podcast.
You were virtually one of the first mentors that I looked up to and started following. You're always one step ahead of the game. So I just wanted to give you kudos and props for that, because lots of people are watching, lots of people are learning from it.
Tucker and the whole TTM crew, Dan and Chris, thanks so much for your support. I love what you guys do, and a huge, huge fan. Having this support's huge. So I'm grateful for that.
What's up, everybody out there in listener land? This is episode 250 of the REI Deal Podcast. Can you believe it? We're at 250. And of course, as always, I am your host, Tucker Merrihew. I want to thank you guys for joining me for what will be another epic episode. Got a great one for you this week. I've got an outside interview, and you guys are going to dig it. Now, before we get into who that is and what that is, I have to say I took last week off. And the reason was, well, Dan was out traveling the world, and he did some pretty amazing stuff down under, and so without him I can't put out podcasts. And so basically we preloaded, though, a new series that we dropped this past week that many of you guys, that if you follow me on Facebook or you subscribe to the podcast, you got the video series that I'm going to talk about here more in just a couple of minutes. But we had that preloaded, ready to go, and we dropped 3 episodes of that last week. But again, that's a video series and not the audio show. But I'm back this week, and on this week's show, I've got a great guest for you. I've got an individual that I've noticed his posts going through my Facebook feed a lot. And his posts are really like some amazing homes. They're in Hawaii. They've got, crazy views, some of them. They're high dollar. Just a lot of stuff going on. And so I've known him through other people for a while now. But I thought I'd reach out to him and instead of just being Facebook friends, become real friends. And in the process of reaching out to him, he let me know that he's actually been a longtime listener of the show, and he really digs it. And so it was a perfect fit. It was like, well, that's awesome. You love the show. I'd love to have you on the show. And so we've got a great interview this week with Cory Nemoto from Hawaii, actually, is where his main operation is. But he's also got a big operation in Seattle and another one that he's starting up in Vegas. So he's basically rehabbing, developing, and building in essentially 3 different markets at the same time. So he's got a big operation that he's running. It's kind of compartmentalized. We go through all kinds of really interesting stuff about how it's run, his deal flow, who his partners are, and how he makes the whole thing work. So this week's show, we're going to talk all about basically how to rehab in Hawaii, number one, and then also the other operations that he has going on both in the Seattle area and now in Vegas as well. Now, I told him that I'd tell a silly, well, maybe not silly, but a funny Hawaii story in the interview, and we kind of got sidetracked. I never told it. So I'm going to tell it here before we get into the interview. And I actually got Maui'd, as they call it. So I got married on the island of Maui almost 10 years ago now. But that's not the funny story. So I got married right on Black Rock, for many of you guys that are familiar with that, right there in the Maui, I forget the name of the town right there, but right on Black Rock is where I got married. But a few years prior to that, I had a gal that used to work for me, and when I had my mortgage company, she was our processor, and her family owned this amazing piece of beachfront on Kauai that was it was on the sunny South Shore, so it wasn't on the rainy part of the island, it was on the sunny part of the island, and it was right surrounded by all this land that Bill Gates had bought up. He basically bought up all this farmland all around him, sugarcane land, and there was this one little sliver of like 300 yards of beachfront and this beachfront cottage that her family had owned for generations. And so I actually got to go on vacation there and stay there for like a week, and it was just the most amazing thing with her. And then my good friend at the time was dating her, and my good friend and I were driving down the road to get out of the house and this property, and you had to cross through a bunch of like farmland, and it was like a gravel road before you could get to the main road to then get to then on your way to the grocery store, because we were going to pick up something, I don't know, probably beer. And we're cruising down the road, and we've got one of your classic Mustang rental cars, I think is what we had at the time, because they either rent you like a Jeep Cherokee or a Jeep Wrangler or a Mustang. That's usually what your Howley rent-a-cars are. And we're cruising down the road pretty quick, and this guy coming the other way kind of pulls across the road and makes us stop and flags us down. And we're like, what is going on here? And then he pulls up next to us and rolls down the window, and he goes, slow down. And he's got that was my Hawaiian accent, but we were like, what? And he's like, livestock, brother. So anyway, Corey, that's the funny story. So now to this day, when I see my friend, I always say, livestock, brother, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about. So the guy thought we were going too fast on the gravel road, and we probably were. And so he wanted us to slow down because he was a local, and we were just visiting Howley's, and he wanted us to slow down. So anyway, that's my funny Hawaii or Kauai story that I didn't get to tell in the interview, but you'll get a lot out of the interview as we get into that segment. Now, before we do that, a few things I want to talk about. Number one is our housekeeping items. I had a show ready to go this week that was going to be all about our Driving for Dollars app enhancements. We're going to be about a week later rolling this out. You know, it's just difficult building apps and doing all the coding and working on the APIs and making sure that all of the data that comes out of the skip trace company is then filtered properly and provided to you in a way that's easily that you can easily export it and then use it for all kinds of different marketing channels. And so basically we're about a week away from all the new enhancements from being in effect, which essentially gives not only who owns it and where they live, but it gives you all their phone number information, both landline and cell phone numbers, also email address, IP address, homeowner age, last sale date, whether or not they've ever had a bankruptcy, whether they're deceased, owner-occupied, non-owner-occupied. Basically all the information that you'd get in a skip trace that's of value when it comes to contacting them, and then also just some supporting cast data to kind of help qualify the lead overall as having promise. And so we're going to be about a week away from releasing that now. But once it's released, I've actually also built out this amazing course that's completely free. So all you got to do is go sign up for the app. And whether you sign up for it now or you sign up for it in a week, we're going to deploy this course for free to everybody who signed up for it. And it's basically a 7-part course that I put together that's all about using all of the different contact points that the app provides to build out your marketing machine, to be able to market to these people in a variety of different ways. And the foundation of it all is direct mail, but then there's all the different layerings that you can do in order to get people to essentially reach out to you and start a conversation about potentially selling their property. And so I've built this whole course out. I've spent the last 2-3 weeks kind of building this thing, putting it together, and really making it an awesome, just free giveaway. And so for anybody that downloads the app, you also get this course that will help you effectively utilize all of the new data that you're going to get from the app, that's skip trace quality data that now you can use to deploy a bunch of different marketing to potential property owners. So make sure that you do that. And again, those enhancements, we're looking to release them this next week. Now, in the meantime, if you have old Driving for Dollars lists or other lists in general that you want to have run as a bulk skip trace and you are an app user, make sure to reach out to us. Just send an email, info@drivingfordollars.app.com, or we'll make sure there's a link in the show notes, and Dan will get you hooked up. We've got the cheapest prices out there to run skip tracing on existing lists or previous Driving for Dollars lists that you want to have full skip traces done on. So make sure that you reach out to us. We're using this as a way to kind of help subsidize the app itself, because the app is so cheap for you guys to use, but also have it be a tremendous value for any of you guys that are an app user, and make sure that we're giving you the cheapest skip tracing out there in the market. And so it's a win for us and it's a win for you by doing that. So make sure that you download the app, you get the free course. We'll deploy it to you whether it be this week or next week. You'll get it no matter what, but make sure you go download the app. It's in the iTunes store or the Google Play Store, depending on whether or not you have an iPhone or a Android phone. Now, second thing I want to mention is our REI Deal Generator. We're almost full. We've got, I think, maybe one spot left for mid-February's kickoff of round 2 of the REI Deal Generator coaching program that I'm doing with myself and Justin Silverio. So if you're at all interested in that, we have one spot left to fill. Reach out to us and we can set up a call and talk with you. We basically are going to build out your entire business for you, and we're going to go through building the business, building out the marketing machine, deploying the marketing, doing lead intake with you, and basically being your partner that works right alongside with you to get your business up and running over the course of a 6-month period. So we'd love to fill that last slot with somebody who wants to take advantage of that tremendous opportunity, and we'd love to make sure that we can help build out your business. So reach out to us there. Now, if that higher dollar kind of all-inclusive type program isn't something that you're looking for, but maybe you're looking to become a part of just a mastermind group of high-end individuals that do this business each and every day, our Deal Finders Academy is probably the place for you to go then. It's $199 a month. We haven't raised the prices in 5 years, and we've got 120 some odd people from all over the country doing this business every single day. And really at this point, at the beginning when we started this mastermind group, we were the teacher. Now we're really the facilitator, and we chime in and we give advice here and there, but there are so many high-end people in this group that are extremely successful in their own right and in their own markets, that it's just a tremendous group of people, and there's a lot of power in having this group of people, which basically become, business partners that you can bounce ideas off of, or try and get ideas or strategy or how to handle a certain situation, and you can get this feedback basically at a drop of a dime. You put it out there in the Facebook group, and within 5 minutes, you've probably got 15 or 20 replies. So it's that active, and it's just a tremendous group of people. So if you're interested in joining and we have availability in your market, we'd love to make sure that you can be a part of it. So reach out to us and we can talk a little bit further. Now, this week, what has been going on with myself and TTM? Well, the biggest thing, as I mentioned in the intro to the intro, is we released a new series, and that new series that I alluded to is called $1 Million Builds, right? Pretty cool name, I thought, right? We're kind of playing off the $1 Million Listing thing. People like $1 Million things. So it's called $1 Million Builds, and we've had a tremendously great feedback, we'll call it. I don't even know if that's proper English, but we've had tremendous feedback, and that feedback has been great. People love what we're doing, which is basically documenting the build of our most expensive spec home to date, which is going to be about a $3.5 million home in the Dunthorpe area, which is the most expensive area in all of the Portland metro. And we're starting from raw land that looks like the Enchanted Forest, and we're going to finish up with a 5,300 square foot house on an acre and a half with room for a guest house that I know it is going to be the most decorated and amazing house built in the whole entire Portland metro area this year in 2019, and we are making sure that we're really putting a lot of work into our design. We're rebuilding our Street of Dreams plan, which was voted best floor plan in America, over 5,000 square feet by Builder Magazine at one point. So the plan itself rocks, and now it's just a matter of implementing the right type of design for this area and for this era. And we're putting a lot of time and effort into that. So this home is going to be absolutely amazing. We're going to have a huge party, and it may actually line up with our annual DFA event this summer. So it could be really cool, but we're basically documenting the entire process. And so we've got episode 4 will drop this week as well, where we've got the excavators out there and they're digging out so that we can set foundation for them sometime next week. But you can see the progress. You can see all the things that we go through in order to build a home like this, whether from utilities to foundation to framing to subs to all the things. And we're going to document it all the way along, and you get to see the trials and tribulations, the successes, and just the transformation. And so far you guys have loved it, and it's been really fun for me to film. And so we've got our drone that we've got out there shooting a lot of footage with, as well as some of the other cameras that we bought over the years. And we're trying to make this as entertaining as possible. So make sure that you check it out. It's called $1 Million Build. You can friend me on Facebook. I post them all a day early on Facebook, so you can see them on my wall, or you can subscribe to the podcast and you can get them there. Now, the other stuff that we've been dealing with is we've got a house that we're going to put on the market here this next week, but we had a little snafu with the neighbor. We had some arborvitae bushes that we thought were firmly on our property because there was basically a fence, and the arborvitae bushes were on our side of the fence. We, out of a courtesy to the neighbor, went and told the neighbor that we were going to be cutting the arborvitae bushes. They then said that the fence was 3 feet in the wrong direction, and that really their property extended 3 feet onto our property. And we said, well, wait a minute, that sounds kind of weird. Why would anybody set their fence there if they had 3 more feet of property at any point in time, right? So we called the previous owners that we had bought the property from, who were actually the original owners of the property. They said that they planted the arborvitae. They planted it on the property line. So we went back to the neighbor, and the neighbor said, well, the guy I bought it from said the property line was still 3 feet over. So we then said, okay, well, this is kind of getting into a he said, she said situation. So we actually paid for a survey company to come out and locate and mark the exact property line. Once we did that, we showed it to them, and they still argued with us. And so there was I posted a picture on Facebook, but there was a survey pin that was put in the ground, as well as a stake. And then the neighbor came over and put his stake in the ground where he thought the property line was, because essentially he thinks the arborvitae bushes are his. Well, I went over today and I delivered a letter that basically said, look, we've done this, 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 and this, and we're within our rights legally to cut those bushes and continue the fence that we want to put in so that we can finish our landscaping. And if you disagree with that, then you have by Friday to pay for your own survey to confirm, or I guess not confirm, the findings that our survey company found, which is that the lot runs right where the current fence is, which is pretty normal, right? But, that's just the stuff you deal with here in Portlandia. So that's this week's fun, we'll call it, out in Portlandia. Last thing I want to mention is we got a lot of leads coming at us. The lead faucet's turned back on this week, but the theme of the last couple of weeks here, and with everything that we're looking at, is really discipline. We're at a point in time where I'm trying to be very disciplined in the projects that we take on, and not just take on projects for the sake of taking on projects. And so it's been a little bit difficult for me to try and pull back the reins a little bit and make sure that if we're going to deploy cash, because we're sitting on a fair bit right now that I'd like to get working, if we're going to deploy it, we're deploying it in the best opportunity possible. And we get a lot of opportunities that come across our desk every week, but we've been kind of going back and forth with a few. And as it turns out, one that we walked away from last week came back around, and now he's willing to look at our number, but it took walking away from it for him to come back around. So we'll see. But the overall theme for the last couple of weeks has definitely been discipline, in terms of a little bit of a disconnect that we have with the market, where people that have fixer type properties don't realize that the retail market has softened a little bit, and it's not as aggressive, and there's just not quite as much premium that you're going to get for any given house on the retail side. They still don't understand that on the wholesale side when they're selling a fixer type property. So a little bit of a disconnect out there still, which basically means that we have to exercise with a lot of discipline in the types of projects that we're taking on. So that's pretty much what's going on with me and TTM over the course of the past week. So without further ado, let's get into the rest of the show and our interview with none other than Cory Nemoto. All right, Real Dealz Podcast listeners, I want to talk quickly about our show's sponsor, Iron Bridge Lending. If you guys have not reached out to Iron Bridge already to talk to them about funding some of your upcoming flip projects, I highly encourage you to do so. I've known the owner of Iron Bridge for a very long time. I've personally borrowed millions of dollars from them over the years to do a number of different projects, and I can say without a doubt, they are the best hard money lending company I have ever come across, and that is the reason why they are the sole sponsor of this show. I've had a lot of other companies reach out to me and want to sponsor this show, but I just won't do it. I feel like I need to be genuine in who we have sponsoring the show, and it needs to be somebody that I've personally done a ton of business with. So I personally vouch for their ability to be the best, hands down, in the world of hard money lending. You won't find better programs, you won't find better terms, and they're lending or will be lending in over 20 states. So chances are, if you're hearing this in whatever state you're in, it's definitely worth it to check out their website, reach out to them, see if they're lending in your state, and if they are, I would absolutely encourage you to do business with them. Another very cool thing to note is that they have a program for most rehabs where you can actually borrow up to 90% of the purchase price. Now, this is given the fact that you are actually buying a deal, which if you're listening to the show, that means you probably are. But if you have an actual deal on the table, they'll fund up to 90% of your purchase price, and they'll even give you rehab funds on top of that, which means that it only takes 10% down to get into a project, which is unbelievable in the hard money world. So do yourself a favor, reach out to Iron Bridge Lending, have a conversation with them, see if they're a good fit for you and for your next project. I can guarantee you that you'll be happy that you did. I have an awesome interview lined up for you guys this week. I've got an individual who I have seen his stuff floating through my Facebook feed for a long time now, and he's got these amazing houses on the island, one of the Hawaiian islands. I don't know how many you're rehabbing on, but we'll get into it. But he's got these awesome houses that keep going through my feed, and he's renovating houses not only in Hawaii, but also in a couple other markets from everything that I can dig up. So we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about this week. Before we get into all that, I want to welcome Cory to the show. Welcome, Cory.
Hey, thanks, Tucker. I really appreciate it, man. I'm a big fan of the podcast, and it's a real honor to be on. I started listening to your podcast, I think from when you started, like literally episode 1. Was that in 2014 you started, maybe?
It was. I was actually, right before we were recording today, I was at a new bank that I was I was interviewing with to see if they could do some construction lending for us. And I was trying to explain this podcast thing. And they were like, when did you start it? And I was like, I think it was 2014. So yeah, you're right. We're coming up on 5 years, which is crazy. So yeah, you've been listening to me yap for a long time.
Yeah, well, I enjoy it, man. And like, what really got me was that segment shoot, I don't know if you still do it, the direct mail, when you let the callers call in. Like, I think that's so important, actually. Like, I love how, because it makes light of a situation that can turn people off in the industry, like new people, like people who I'm coaching and trying to help, like they get really scared, when they get those kind of calls. And it's like the way that you make light of it, I think that's important, and it's hilarious, some of them. Like, I swear it's like some of those guys that called in, that was the same person that I talked to or something, it's like the exact same.
We would keep doing it, but fortunately, unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, the market there's a lot more people doing direct seller marketing now. So people have become a little bit more numb to like the marketing that happens to them. Whereas before, they felt like it was like this massive intrusion into their world. And then, of course, they'd call us and they'd leave these crazy messages like the ones we play on the show. So we don't get a ton anymore of those big, like, go F yourself calls. The first one I ever got, though, I think we might have played it on the show, but literally the first message from the first direct mail campaign I ever did, some guy called up and it was like, he wasn't like over the top angry. He was like freaky scary. Like he was like, if you were here right now, I'd grab the nearest object and I'd beat you to death. I was like, ooh, that sounds bad. That sounds real bad. I was like, I don't know about this direct mail thing, man.
Right.
You really kind of aggravate people, it sounds like. But anyway, that's why I wanted to make the that part of the show, because I remember those feelings that I had when I first got that message. And I didn't have anybody to like be like, it's all right. There's crazy people out there. They just leave those messages. It happens. Like, I had to be like, well, I think I want to do this, and I hope he doesn't know where I live. And then I was like, I need to make sure that this phone number is not tied to my home address, because I thought he was going to come to the house. It was, lo and behold, we've had like, I don't know, maybe 2 people show up in 10 years of direct seller marketing to the office here. And both times, one of them, they ended up wanting to sell us the house. The other one wanted to join one of our academies by the time we were done talking. So it all worked out. Like, they're really, you just get people that get a little crazy on the phone, and, it's just the way it is. But yeah, fun segment, but just a funny part of the business. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, man. It's an honor to be on your show.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to have you here because we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. I mapped out some things. I actually went back and I listened to a little bit of the show that you did with the guys over at Bigger Pockets last night to kind of get a little breakdown of, where you started from. And I don't want to rehash too much of that, but from what I gathered from listening to that, you kind of jumped in with both feet, and you were like the door knocking lackey for some investors, which basically, I mean, it probably a good thing, right, in hindsight, because it kind of put your feet to the fire and just said, sink or swim, man. If you want to do this, guess what? You got to be our door knocker.
Yeah. It was the hardest year, of my career, but I would not take it back. Like, I would do it all over again, because it showed me what I was made of, and I learned so much about myself, actually. And it did show me the power that real estate can have, like some of the strategies. And it's not just about buy and hold. There's so much more to this game, right? And that's what it really opened my eyes. So I think with that experience, door knocking for them for a year, and it was 2012. So it was when the market was still recovering, and, people were upside down, and I would have to go and knock on their door. It wasn't pleasant, so I learned a lot about myself, and a lot about what, this industry can provide if you do it right.
Yeah, that was a crazy niche. I'd kind of heard, whisperings of people that did sort of similar things, but that was a crazy niche that you were sourcing deals for too, which was basically the guys, I think they were buying the notes at a discount. You were getting the owners to refinance, pay off the discounted bought note plus some profit. Pretty genius little model there that you jumped in with those guys. So I'm sure that was a big learning experience.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't to this day met someone that's actually doing it. But again, like our market doesn't really favor that right now.
Right.
But when it does turn, I mean, it probably is a really good, strategy to look into.
Sure.
So,
yeah, it was very timely to like where we were in the market. Now, fast forward to 2019. It's crazy to say that, right? But, we're at 2019. We're at a different point in the cycle. We've got all kinds of different stuff going on. Infill redevelopment has gone crazy. Prices and areas have matured a lot. Here in Portland, it's been nuts. And I know you're in multiple markets, so I want to talk about that. But let's dive into kind of what your current business setup looks like, because I know you've got some partners. I know you got multiple markets. I'm really curious how it's all set up. So if we could pull back the curtain a little bit here and maybe dive into kind of what this whole thing looks like. Sure,
absolutely. So we are in Hawaii, which is mainly Honolulu County, which is on the island of Oahu. Basically, is what is my zone. I am looking at deals on other islands like Maui and the Big Island of Hawaii. But our other market that we went into about 2 years ago is Seattle. And those are our two main markets. We are looking at a couple others, one of them being in Las Vegas. And that market we kind of just stumbled upon. They do call Las Vegas the ninth island because there's a huge population of Hawaiians out there that relocate from Hawaii. So, I mean, it's kind of like a second home anyways. But for Vegas, we were initially looking at more commercial deals and some little bit longer plays, some multifamily. But we, of course, when we're there, we try to embed in the market, get a feel of the pulse of it, and we see we see deals, right? So we might do a few flips out there, and so those are the three markets we're in. How
are they different? Like maybe let's dive in. Let's pull back a little more. Like you've got Hawaii, which is really like an equity market, right?
Right.
You got high price points, lots of capital needed. It's kind of a secondary market, but with primary market prices, because you got a lot of like vacation homes and people with money that, go there and spend a month there. And then, I don't know, maybe they Airbnb their house out. Maybe they don't. I don't know. Then you've got Seattle, which is, I mean, Bellevue is expensive as shit. Like, it's crazy. Like my house in Bellevue is like an $8 million house, like,
right.
Which is nuts. And then Vegas, of course, a little more affordable, but kind of a boom bust market as well. But although probably more booming now because you got the Raiders going there and you've got a lot more like infrastructure and reasons to be there other than just, bad things, right? So you've got some things there. So like, I guess the question is, do you look at all those markets kind of differently in terms of like risk and types of deals, or how do you guys look at that?
Yeah. Well, definitely. So Hawaii is definitely an equity market. It's not suited for cash flow. I think the only way you'd have something that cash flow decent with a decent cap rate is if you had a vacation, your short-term rental. Other than that, yeah, it's not a cash flow market. It's straight equity. And similar to Seattle as well. A lot of the markets like Bellevue, Seattle, and it's more suited for fix and flip or development, I guess. But some of the outer neighborhoods like Tacoma and stuff, we were looking at possibly buying some portfolio homes. But for the most part, that's an equity play as well for us. Vegas, we are seeing a little bit stronger cap rates that we can hold something, especially on the commercial side. So that's kind of our play out there. And we will probably flip a few houses out there just kind of for the fun of it, maybe. And, we have a lot of connections out there. But we are kind of changing our model from just being a fix and flip company to being more vertically integrated. And I actually learned that from my friend who I went to school with. His name's Ranson, and he's out in Vegas. And he has just become like the largest producer of cannabis in Nevada. And so he has
it's legal there now, right?
Yeah, it's legal now.
Because it's legal here too. I love my CBD. That's my, that makes my bones, after I play hoop, I feel like I'm 20 years old again after I take a little puff on my CBD pen.
It's like magic, man.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
So, well, his mentors are some of the biggest casino builder names out there, like one of the 5 families, that built Las Vegas basically, and his mentor is one of them, and so he's learned a lot from them. And so we had a meeting with him. We saw his operation. I was super impressed, and we were just talking story, and he was talking about vertical integration in his company, and that kind of reminds me about you, Tucker, because I think like you guys are pretty vertically integrated as well, which I take a lot of inspiration from, because I remember Ransom was telling this to us, me and my business partner Kikoa, and after we left that meeting, we were like, man, we got to do that, because right now we're just a house flipping company, and you're not really a business. Like flipping houses, you're not building equity in a company that you can sell to someone one day, because there's so many third parties involved. You don't really control every step. So we decided to, we're testing it in Seattle, and we own the brokerage now. We own the construction company, and then our last leg is our fund, and our fund is taking a little bit longer than we'd like to get started. But once that's set up, we're going to shift our focus from flipping houses primarily to being more of a provider. So like focus on lead generation, and as the leads come in, we'll filter them. The retail ones will sell through our brokerage. The ones that come in will most likely wholesale, but also offer the primary financing through our fund, and then also offer the construction crew through our company. And then on the back end, we'll offer to list it, so we'll kind of take a cut at every stage, but also provide the service. And then the ones that have a lot, of equity that's worth our time to take all the way through, we'll take those down, so that's kind of where we're shifting a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah. There's a company, I won't say their name, but they were in Seattle. They ventured down to Portland, and they're trying to do that to some extent, as far as like being a provider. And then also they don't have the real estate listing on the back end, right? But I know there's a few other companies that do that, but it's, if you can build out that front end lead machine, right? Like that, then that controls everything. Like that's this year, when I'm going to talk at Charles' event, like that's the biggest thing is like, you got to have that incoming leads, right? Then you can create all this business around it, whatever that business looks like you want it to be, whether it's vertically integrated or whether it's not. It all starts with that. But it sounds like you guys are going to graduate to, okay, we are a leads business first and foremost. And then from there, we obviously need the money piece. We need the real estate licensing piece so that we can sell stuff for people. And then we can basically place it, and then a construction piece so we can obviously do construction for people. But you're basically generating leads and providing work for your vertically integrated pieces. But the majority of your effort will just be providing the leads and then letting somebody else kind of do the daily minutia and brain damage of getting that product to whatever retail condition is.
Right. Yeah. And it's we're kind of just slowly getting in it, right? Because like it can become a machine that you can't turn off. So we're very careful about it, because it would be a big switch. So we're gonna test it a little bit, and if it works, I mean, we'll dive all in, And I just think like I love flipping houses, and I love small residential development projects, but I it's active income, and we're trying to shift more towards predictable passive income, and something that's a little bit more where we can work on the business instead of inside of the business. So we're going to test it out and see how much headaches come with it, because like it's a lot, there's more entities, more liability, more people to be responsible for. So it could be totally opposite of what we're trying to accomplish, but
well, it's growth, right? I mean, that's the thing about growth, is that it's like, I don't know, I was thinking about this last night, because I was going to be like, I got to ask him a really smart question. But really what it was going to come down to is like, how do you see yourself growing, right? And I started thinking about it for myself, and it's like, we can have these ideas of what we want, but it never actually ends up that way, right? We map out what exactly we want to accomplish, but then we just we usually change course about a third of the way through, and then we change course again, and we change course again, and then we end up with the final product, which is what we really want. We just didn't know we wanted it yet. So it sounds like you guys, that's kind of the path you guys are on, and that's the path I'm on too as well, is just figuring out, exactly what you want. Now, are you guys running a similar model in Hawaii, or what is it a different model? Is it just purely fix and flip, and that's all you're looking to do there? Or are you looking to kind of duplicate the model that you're thinking about deploying in Seattle, or you're in the process of deploying in Seattle in the other markets as well, or are they going to operate differently?
So Hawaii, currently we are strictly just fix and flip and small residential development projects, 8 houses or less. And so, but I'm kind of positioning myself to make a move if it does turn out to work out well for us in Seattle. And so far it actually is, like we're kind of testing the broker side, testing the construction side. And so when our fund is ready, that is where we'll kind of test that, the last leg. And then if everything is working smoothly, we'll turn on the faucet, dump a bunch of money into it and get, leads coming in. And then we'll start forming the infrastructure down here in Hawaii as well. Because, but in Hawaii, we can build it a lot faster because we have a larger network. It was our main market that we started in. So I already have the guys to partner with, on the construction side, because I don't have a license, construction license. But I have the right partner who is a developer, and he will take the cut on the back end with us, so,
Gotcha.
Yeah, but right now we're just strictly fix and flip and development out here in Hawaii.
Okay, so it sounds like that's somewhat what you've got going on, maybe a more mature version in Seattle, but you also have the brokerage attached to it. What does the team look like then in Hawaii? You've got your contractor partner, we'll call him. Mm-hmm. Who else is involved, is that involvement extend across all 3 markets?
So in Seattle, we own the construction company, so we kind of hire all the crew and sub everything. We're gonna be bringing on GCs because right now my partner is running around. I'm like, man, we gotta fix that. He can't be doing that. And and he knows that. Yeah, he knows that too. So we're working on that. But down here, we already have an established crew, a GC, and he's now going to be taking his profit on the back with me, which he'll probably make a lot more, actually, per deal. And it's perfect. It's perfect for me because now he's vested in it. So his bottom line is my bottom line. So he has every, intention to be on time and on budget, right? So. And he's a great guy, and I'm very happy that we're partnering now.
Gotcha. So you've got a GC partner, and then do you have just a general business partner then that you mentioned as well?
Yeah, general business across the board is me and Kikoa.
Okay. Yeah. So that's across the board, you guys are partners in the business, and then you've got your GC partner that you guys have established in Hawaii. What you said you were putting together a fund in Seattle. How are you funding the high dollar stuff in Hawaii right now? Do you have a fund set up there, or are you just taking private money? What does that look like?
Right now, even in Hawaii and Seattle, we leverage hard money and private money. Okay. So we stack, and we leverage almost all our deals, almost 100%. I'll put money in. Kiko and I have money in across the board in our projects, but we have a good, we offer a good product in 10 to 12% interest to our private lenders that is secured, and they want that, right? So if it's there, it's better for me to leverage so that we can do more, especially since we're in high price point markets like Hawaii and Seattle, where if I didn't leverage, we could only do a few deals.
Yeah,
right? So
that's why I asked, because we're fairly high price point as well. So if we I have to look at the options of, okay, do we leverage out and do more, or do we just raise more capital, internally and in order to do more? Like, which one is it, right? Because if you leverage easily, then you go hard money option, right? Which basically is more expensive. Or do you put in the work to raise more capital, which is essentially a fund, so that you can do more without, hitting the easy leverage button, we'll call it, which is the hard money. So,
right. Yeah.
So what types of deals then, just to kind of touch on it, it sounds like in Seattle and in Hawaii, you're really doing the same types of deals, a lot of fix and flip. It sounds like you're doing some development. Are you doing some ground up build stuff as well?
Yeah. So out here, actually, I love your post too about development out there in Portland. It sounds like it could be a nightmare. It's just like Hawaii, man. I feel your pain, like in a weird way, because like misery loves company. Like,
well, I posted, yeah.
I'm like, oh, it brings a smile to my face, even though it's a sucky situation. Because like I know exactly the builders out here. We have problems with the city because we're such low in inventory here, and there's such a imbalance of how the need for housing, affordable housing, but yet there's so much resistance to development, and I feel that developers should be responsible, and especially in Hawaii where there's limited land, there's cultural sensitivity here, and so we should be cautious about that and not just build something just to build and make money. But at the same time, when you're building in a zoned residential area, then the city should have your back in Hawaii, because like there's such a demand for housing here, and developers are just turned off because it costs too much money. It takes way too long to develop here, and that's why I stay 8 houses and below, mainly because in Hawaii, if you do 8 houses on a lot that's zoned properly for it, you don't have to go into the subdivision process. You do what's called a CPR, which is a condominium property regime, which can be a lot less expensive and faster. Although I've heard the subdivision process can be faster, but the CPR process can work a lot I guess quicker to get across the board. So so we do ground up development here. I'm about to get into one that's 6 lots that's already subdivided. So that's my gem this year is to crank that one out.
I pulled one off your Facebook page. It looked like it showed like the lots that were created for like Lahaina Lot 1 and Farrington Lot 1. And it looks like you've got essentially, I don't know what, 4 flag lots that are created and then 1 road frontage and maybe 5 flag lots, but 2 different exit or entry points from both sides of the block, something like that. So that's a big project, man. That's a lot of utilities to bring in. That's a lot of neighbors to piss off.
Oh yeah, right. That's also in Makaha, which is the west side of the island, and so it's in Waianae, and it's the more lower income area. So they are sensitive too out there, but they need housing, and that plot right there it's already subdivided for one, so I don't have to go through the CPR process and the park dedication. But there's also something called the park dedication process out here. Basically, if you build more than 2 homes on a parcel, you have to build a park. Really? And if you don't build a park, you gotta pay for that. You pay a fee. It's like the mafia.
So are you gonna build a park somewhere in there?
No.
Okay, you're paying the fee. All right.
Yeah, I'm paying the fee. Yeah, it's a lot better to use that land to build another house, So, but I get it. The city needs to make their money and stuff. So
we have something similar. It's called a sidewalk. Let me take your money fee here in Portland, where they charge you $600 per linear foot of your lot road frontage, and then they take that money and they don't put in any sidewalks anywhere. The alternative is that you put the sidewalks in, but here's how they deter you from doing it because they really want the money. They basically make you engineer the sidewalks, do the drawings, have your civil engineer create them and all that, and then they go into review with the city, and magically it takes them, well, I shouldn't say magically, but somehow it takes them over a year to actually get to reviewing your sidewalk drawings to make sure the engineering's correct. So they basically force you to pay them the ridiculous sidewalk fee, because who the hell wants to sit on a single family project for a year to wait for the city engineer to review the damn sidewalks, right? So same idea. So it's the sidewalk, give me your money fee versus the park, give me your money fee. Same idea.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we have Portland's crazy. After we're done with this today, I have to go out to one of our recent rehab projects that we're trying to get listed. The neighbor thought that the bushes were his. We bought the property from an original owner who planted them. And we called the original owner and said, did you guys plant those on your side of the property line? He said, well, yeah, that's what you do. The guy next door thought that the guy he bought it from, who was the original owner, told him that the plants were his. We had a survey done on the left side. Now the guy doesn't believe the survey. He thinks we cooked the survey. So I got to go talk to him, and it's just ridiculous, man. It's bananas.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's I got stories for days on that. But back on track. Let's not rabbit hole too hard here. So Dealz, you're in 3 different markets. How are you driving leads? What is it that's creating deals for you?
It used to be marketing when I was first started out, and I took a lot from your podcast, Tucker. Like because I got big into direct mail. I know you are, and so I took a lot of things away from what you're saying, and so I was blasting out marketing, and I was wholesaling initially, and then got into fix and flip, and right now, over the years, I've built a network of people who, some of them are up and coming, some of them are cranking. They're almost like they're pretty much professional wholesalers, and so I get leads that just kind of come to me now. I don't market at all. So every now and then I'll drop a postcard, like if I know like a small neighborhood, some zip codes like are ones that I really want to target. We'll drop something, but other than that, like I get pocket listings and off-market deals, from there's a lot of people in Hawaii, since it's an island, like everybody kind of knows everybody. So I see everybody at the meetups, and we're in the same circles, the same Facebook groups and stuff. So somehow it just keeps coming, but I built that over the years of kind of putting myself out there and meeting people and helping people, for one. I do donate a lot of my time, sometimes too much, to teach people, and I give them my resources and stuff so that they, and if they find a deal, they call me. Like I don't really need to ask them to call me first or anything. Like they call me, because they trust me, because I gave my time and the energy to teach them. So I think over the years I've been able to build a strong deal flow through relationships. But initially it was all about marketing. I had to blast out. I had to put up money to send mailers, and signs and all that jazz,
Gotcha. So yeah, I've got a buddy, Mike Sumsky, who's up in the Seattle area, and he built kind of like a meetup. It sounds like you kind of work the meetups a lot as well, but he basically created a meetup to create a lot of, we'll call them up and coming wholesalers, or people that aspire to get where you're at, or where I'm at, or where Mike's at. And, they come to Mike and to get guidance and help, but also it's a great lead source for Mike in terms of being able to kind of take the deals that these people have created, but they just don't know what to do with, or they need help closing or whatever. You're kind of the same guy, just over in Hawaii is kind of what it sounds like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And, I think the people like your friend Mike and Taro, they understand, they get it, that you do have to market. Like, to have a really sustainable business, you have to market. But also, like, if you can build relationships and teach people and help others, then that's when you really build like strong deal flow, and it's hard to get that across to people who are new to the business, because it's not an action. Like, do this, go to listsource.com, pull the list, and, send them a letter, and you got to tell them the step-by-step. They need the step-by-step structure. And I did that. I needed that too, actually, when I first started. I know I did. But if people can grasp that it's not so much, marketing is very important, but relationships is very important as well. And you got to do both, if you really want to kill it in the game.
Well, the other thing too is you can't microwave relationships, right? It takes time. So that takes time. Yeah, it's something that it's kind of like the slow play, right? It's the thing that, grows with time. And, we've got a lot that we're buying next month. That's great lot in Lake Oswego. from a relationship, right? Guy that I've known for years, that's a realtor that just doesn't want to, he's selling it for a decent price, but we're getting a solid deal and we'll build it and we'll sell for a great price. But then we've got our marketing stuff too, that we market directly to areas and we go buy stuff directly from homeowners. So we have a combination of things, but yeah, it's an important piece of the business for sure. And as long as you're just a decent human being and you're likable, over time, people will bring you deals. We've also leveraged that internally with our local podcast to kind of get in front of all the realtors in town. And then we blast them once a month via email. And so instead of being a guy that's just an investor blasting all these emails out to realtors that then they go delete, well, these realtors are listening to me every month, just like you listen to me, but on a local level. And so then they send us, every time we blast out, we get like hundreds of leads that come in just like boom that day because they feel like they've got a connection with me, even though they don't know me. So it's kind of leverage networking, we'll call it, by creating that tool, which is what we did. So yeah, it's a slow play, but it's definitely, there's a lot of power to it. And it sounds like you've kind of mastered the art of that.
Yeah, it does take a while to build true, long-lasting, mutually beneficial relationships. And like actually that Makaha deal, the 6 lots I got to this year, it was a pocket listing that a friend of mine who he's a broker, he moved actually to New York, and I haven't talked to him in like 2 years, and never really was constantly talking to him, but I was his first call, because I built that relationship and it was genuine. And so he's all the way in New York, and we're about to close this thing. I'm buying it for $1,050,000, like six lots. We're gonna dump like another $1,080,000, and then plus all the soft costs. It's a lot of money that's going into this project. But I mean, that project will net us about $1 million in. I think we can do it in 9 to 12 months, because it's already subdivided. So all we got to do is get permits and go vertical on each house. So I think, like that is a deal, like that's my gem this year. And it came from a relationship I built years ago, so you just never know when that pipeline is going to come through for you, for someone that you talked to, a long time ago.
For sure. And I also think like being in a market like Hawaii, like you said, there's a lot of people that are afraid to go all in on the construction side there, right? Because it can be challenging, I'm sure, to find the right subs and the right help and just navigate the city and the permitting. And so to have a guy like you and your partner who know how to navigate all that, and people can be like, I found the deal here, Cory, take it, run with it, give me a few bucks, right? There's a lot of value to that, I think, for people, and especially in a market like Hawaii.
Right. Yeah. Because it is hard. Like development is another beast, man. Like that's why like I follow you and I try to watch all your videos because I take away something, and it's very development can be very lucrative, but very dangerous too, right? You just gotta be careful. And I have mentors who I've learned from here who develop, and they every time before I do something crazy, there's a few people who I call, and especially like a development deal here that's gonna, we're gonna dump a few $1 million into it. So that's something that I want to make sure I get right. But there's a lot of developers who are scared to develop here in Hawaii, and kind of rightfully so. You kind of need that fear to put you in check, man. Like, development's not.
It's good to have a second set of eyes, especially when you're talking multi-7-figure, type projects. I mean, we're mid dig out right now on what will be a $3 million or maybe $3.5 million exit on one single family here in Portland, and that's a high price point. We're talking thin airspace up there, but we got to make sure we do it right in order to exit that thing where we want to exit. So yeah, it's good to have a second set of eyes. Unfortunately, I don't have anybody above us that we can call to say, hey, that's a good idea here. So I got to take my own underwrite as my best advice on those. But But single family is it's a different beast. I mean, there's guys that obviously do much more and higher dollar stuff here, but you're getting into multifamily, commercial, things like that. $3.5 million is about the top of the ladder when it comes to single family construction here. There's nobody above for me to go, hey, can you look down and check this out? They're like, what are you doing? Go to multifamily. We don't pay any taxes, you idiot. You know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But so what right now would you say? And really over the past, let's call it couple of years or just over your career, what are some of the biggest challenges you're facing or you have faced that you think other investors probably have faced as well?
Biggest challenges, I think definitely the building trust with a GC that you can be long-term, and count on. That was been a problem. I made mistakes there. I've cleaned it up, for now. Like I got the right structure where it kind of protects me to make sure that, projects get done on time and on budget, because some of our projects would go over budget and over time, and it just bleeds me, and it happens when, even though your crew you're working with, like they may start out very well with you, and then as they start to grow, they start to slow, and if it starts to affect, could have started to affect your projects when they take on more other projects. And I've seen it happen to me, and so I had to make some changes. So that's a big issue, contractors, and that's another reason why we're thinking about adding that into our vertical chain, just so that we can control it a little better. But I think that was an issue. Initially starting out also was building the credibility to raise private capital. That was hard because you need to build trust especially when you're in a market like ours, right? There you gotta borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's not easy to build that trust. But all I can say, I guess, to people who are starting out is it takes time to build that credibility. If you have to, ride the coattails of someone else more experienced, where you're doing work for free, basically, and you're providing value for free in exchange for being able to learn alongside them and build some credibility and put yourself out there, then that is steps in the right direction into building your reputation in whatever market you're in. And it starts to get easier, as long as you do right by everybody, as long as you're paying on time, or you pay in full, and you don't never let your lenders take a hit. I don't care if it's non-recourse or
that's great advice. Good advice. I'll highlight that in the if there was a transcribed version. Very important.
No, yeah, because some people, they're so short-sighted, man, especially in Hawaii. In any market, it's a small, it's a small market in any market, really, because word spreads, and especially nowadays, all it takes is a little tweet or whatever, or Facebook or something, and for one, you don't want to wrong anybody. And, I will never let my lenders take a hit. I will always take the hit first. If it's something so catastrophic, for some reason, I don't know why this would happen, but if something went totally wrong, the market turned, mixed with a bunch of other things, I made mistakes or something, and my lenders will take a hit, then that's the only time I would ever go back to getting a JOB, it's the paid debt, because I cannot live with that. You know what I mean? Everybody gets paid back.
Right. The beauty of our skill sets too, though, is that even if, let's say, that catastrophic Armageddon happened, right, you can use the skill sets you have now to create more money to make people whole, right? I mean, at the end of the day,
that's true.
It's not a good topic, but once you have that skill set of being able to make money, because there's two types of people in the world. I came to this conclusion in the shower the other day. There's people that make money, and there's people that make money with money, right? So it's like, which one are you? And once you establish the skill set of being able to make money with money, you can always do that, right? You can always make more money. And so it's just a matter of which category do you fall in? Are you the guy that makes money, or are you the guy that makes money with money?
Yeah, exactly. And you're it's so right, because if that did happen, like the JOB kind of isn't an option, because like if you're a true entrepreneur, you would find a way, right? You'd find another way. And it's a better way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that is true.
So basically, keeping your private lenders whole, building credibility is a challenge. I would say, and you'd probably agree with me, you want to find people that have deeper pockets, so you're not borrowing from 100 people at 20 grand a pop, right?
Yes.
But maybe building that war chest out gradually with them. That's one thing that we've had success with, is we started out with $250,000 with one private lender, and it worked its way all the way up to $2 million. But it started with $250,000, right? So there was kind of like our first date, and then it grew from there. So I would assume that you probably are in the same boat, because you're working with some high dollar figures.
Yeah. So normally we don't take less than 100,000 when we're doing a capital raise on a deal. But I will make exceptions, and we have taken 50,000, even a $40,000 one, and that it's exactly what you said, though. It's like, this is a one-time thing, because the logistics of it become very I guess inconvenient, and not just inconvenient, but it becomes hard to manage every relationship. It really depends too on the private lender. If they're they want to be hands-on, they're calling in questions and all that, then it comes a point where it's like, I don't think you're ready for this. So not all money is good money, right? Like sometimes it's best not to take money from someone. And like, I don't want to take money from somebody who's going to be constantly worried about it, right? They need to trust me. And so that's the big thing for me. There is a threshold where it's kind of like, it might not be worth it. You might need to wait a little while. You're not ready to lend. Right?
Yeah, we turned down $300K this summer, because the guy I was like, look, here's the deal. Here's my underwrite. And he's like, can you meet me out there next week so we can walk it? And I was like, dude, you don't even know what you're looking at. So and I was like, you know what? This probably good guy, nothing against him. But yeah, just the management of that money was going to be far more expensive than the money itself. And so it just was like, it's probably not a good fit. And so we decided to move in a different direction without him. But I get what you're saying there completely. So, all right. So one last question that I have for you is, and this is something that I've been, personally kind of thinking about a lot over the course of the past year, especially as our businesses continue to grow. But do you do anything, or is there a routine or something that you do, or someone you listen to, or just general, I guess, habits that you do to kind of help with your personal growth and your business growth, being a better business person every day, being more efficient with your time? Is there something you do? Because I'm curious what other people's kind of life hacks are, we'll call them, to become a better person, better business person on an ongoing basis.
Oh man, it's funny that you asked me this, because I'm working on that myself. I've always been a late night person. Like I'll go to sleep at like 3:30 sometimes. Like, and it's because I can't turn off. Like my mind keeps going, and like I get a lot of work done actually at night. But I know it's not good for me, because I'd still have to get up at like maybe 7 or 8. So I only get a few hours of sleep, because the phones start ringing at 9, like right on the dot. It's just boom. The calls start coming in, text messages. So it catches up to me. Like I'm lucky. I can run on low sleep, but it does I do hit a wall every now and then, and it's not healthy. So me and Kiko were joking around, because I really want to try that miracle morning thing. You get up at 5 and stuff. But like I tried twice, man. I failed. Like I'm trying. I'm gonna try one more time. Like, but he was joking around. He's like, man, you gotta write the Miracle Midnight book. Like,
Yeah, you know what I've discovered is that Miracle Morning is for people before they get into the world of kids, little kids
really?
particularly. Yeah, with the 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, there's nothing miracle about your morning. It's purely mess. Like you wake up a little earlier sometimes to get a little reprieve, but like my morning this morning, I was up at 3, I was up at 4, I was up at 5, I was up at 5:39, and then I just said, screw it, I'm staying up, whatever. And I got about 45 minutes to have some coffee and get my interview with you sketched out a little better. And that was my miracle morning, right? But that's
Right.
It's just different chapter of life. But yeah, I've tried to just to kind of piggyback on what you said, I've tried to go to bed a little bit earlier so that I could get up later. I used to be a night owl and stay up super late, and we'd be looking at design stuff, and I'd just be kind of soaking up the business and trying to learn things because it was a quiet time and it made sense to do so. But now that I have kids, I try and go to bed a little bit earlier and then get up early so that I can get at least a little bit of time to myself. But that whole like going to the gym, meditating, this and that, it goes out the window once you have kids. So enjoy it now if you did.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I gotta enjoy it now.
Enjoy the freedom, whether you want to sleep till 8 or whether you want to wake up at 5, whatever it is, just enjoy that, Enjoy the fact that you have that.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Because it does make me feel bad, because it feels like we're in the industry, like, oh, we gotta go to sleep early, wake up early, get a good 8 hours of sleep, and I want that. Believe me, like I really want that. It's a huge change for me, but I'm gonna give it another shot. The Miracle Morning. But one thing I do like. What I do is just like I do consume a lot of information, like podcasts. I read, and when I am at the gym, that's kind of my time. I'll listen to a podcast, and a lot of times I got you in my ear, man. So this is kind of surreal. I really appreciate it, and but like I consume information, and one thing about me that I've learned is like I'm dangerous with information, because I'm a trigger puller, and I take action. And I think if people who are who are kind of on the sidelines, right? Like I think they gotta change their mindset. Like I never was one to not move, and but when I hear something and it makes sense and it's like it registers, like I take action, and that's why, like, I would say, like, anybody listening, like, you just gotta be dangerous with information, because you gotta be, consume it and take action. Because, like, just like my friend Ranson, like, all he had to do was mention vertical integration one time, and now we're trying, we're trying it out. We've spent money we reinvested back in our company to build out infrastructure, and it actually may be a total shift in our company that is a lot more lucrative and a lot more hands off for us.
Well, you're a ready, fire, aim guy, similar to me. It's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good way to be, because there's two types of people also, in terms of, like you said, on the sidelines, and then there's people that jump in, right? You just jump in, and maybe you jump in and you screw up a little bit, but you fix it, you figure it out, and you tweak it to whatever it is you want. But I think having that innate ability to be able to jump in is definitely an advantage in life. It's hard for some people to do that. So I think that's just something that obviously comes natural for you, which, it's maybe a little scary at times, but it's a good thing overall.
Right. Yeah. And I'm usually more conservative. I am a shy person, my personality, and an introvert. But the way I take action, is not like I am aggressive in moving on things, but I am conservative. So it's kind of a weird dynamic. So I think that's why I think anybody who is new and stuff, they can shift a little, to be more of an action taker.
For sure. And, just getting to know, mastering your craft is a big help with that too, right? So you consume a lot of content, you kind of sharpen your tool sets, you deploy some stuff, you get better at it. And as you see success and you see traction, it's easier to kind of jump in and continue to just take action versus hanging out on the sidelines. So well said, for sure. Now, before we get out of here, what's the best way for people to follow along and check out all these crazy Hawaiian projects, everything else that you got going on, and follow you?
Yeah, well, just Instagram and Facebook. I usually post on there, and I like those platforms just because I can message people and I can just post pictures and stuff, because we do some crazy things, man. Like, kind of like you, and we get into some crazy deals, and I'm not afraid to share the bad. Like, so far we've been doing well, but like, I'm not afraid. When we hit make a huge mistake, like, I'm an open book. I'll say it. I want people to learn from my mistakes too. So Instagram and Facebook, both handles are just my first name, Cory, Cory, dot Nemoto, Nemoto.
Perfect. Well, I'll make sure we have those links in the show notes. But I appreciate you taking some time and chatting with me this week. I was excited to hear about your big operation in 3 different markets and kind of just the dynamics of it all. So I appreciate you taking time to do that.
Man, absolutely. Thank you so much, Tucker. It was it's a true honor, and I was listening to your podcast back in the day, and it had helped me. Like, this is before I even really started flipping houses. I was just wholesaling. I actually did my first 3 deals, and it came through direct mail, and a lot of the tips I got were from listening to you, man. So really appreciate it. It's kind of surreal that I'm able to be on your podcast, and I'll probably see you up in Tara's event.
Oh, awesome! You're gonna go, sweet. Yeah, well, this is like us coming full circle, right? You get to listen to me, flap my gums for years, and now we're talking, right? And then we'll hang out at Tarl's event here in April, which will be awesome. So
absolutely, man.
Very cool.
It's awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks again for joining us, and it was a great show. All right. What'd you guys think of that interview with Cory, huh? Pretty cool guy. I have to say, he's got some big things brewing. It'll be interesting to see what his company develops into. He's got some vision of where he wants to take things. And, I just like talking to other entrepreneurs that have vision and really are driving their company in a positive direction. We never know exactly the shape that the company is going to take. That's one thing we mentioned in the interview. We just know that we're pushing forward. And you can have a plan, but a lot of times that plan doesn't ever end up working out exactly as you plan out, because the end product of whatever it is you're trying to build oftentimes changes along the way and redirects. So it'll be really cool to see him grow and continue to grow over the next year or so, and see what that more finalized version of vertical integration within the companies is that he's doing. But all in all, big thanks to Cory. Glad he came on the show, and of course, I'm happy to hear that he's been a long-time listener as well. Now, before I leave you guys, I'm going to leave you with the closing success quote, and this is one that I came up with, and I actually mentioned in the interview. Maybe some of you guys remembered it, but I was thinking about this the other day, and I kind of had this quote going on in my head, and I said, well, I searched it, haven't really seen anybody else that can take credit for it, so I'm going to give myself credit for this. And the quote is this: there are 2 types of people in the world. There are people that make money, and there are people that make money with money. Which one are you? You want to be the guy that makes money with money, because that skill set is entirely more valuable than the guy that just makes money. There's no question. So that's what I'm going to leave you with here on episode 250. I'll see you all next week.
We Someday you wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, and the dream that you dare to, oh why can't I? Well, I see trees of green and red roses too. I'll watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, singing, how do you do? They really say, I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like a lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. And the dreams that you dare to, why, oh, why can't I?